Hey, so we're going to talk about Genesis 35. I find it very interesting because Genesis 35 is kind of the last bit where the story really focuses on Jacob and his life. It moves on to his family and the other stuff. He's still there, but the focus shifts away from him. And so this 35 talks a little bit about later on in life. And I think that it's a powerful contrast when we compare Genesis 35, Jacob as a middle-aged or older man, to the Jacob that we see in Genesis 28. In Genesis 28, Jacob has, if you remember, has just fled from his parents' house because Esau wants to kill him. And he flees and he goes to this place that where he has this crazy dream, and he sees a ladder with angels going up and down on it, and he calls it Bethel or Bethel. And so he puts a stone there and anoints it so that he'll remember that spot. And he makes this interesting kind of rash promise to God, where he says, if you'll be with me and if you'll take care of me and you'll provide for me, then I'll be faithful to you. This very conditional promise. and then we see him go and kind of do his own thing for the next 20 or even 30 years. And during those 20 or 30 years, there's highs and lows, right? Like there's he gets married and he has kids, and he sees, he fears for his life, and he sees one of his daughters get raped, and those as those things have happened to him, as we arrive in chapter 35, the years and the things that have happened have changed him. And so in the beginning of 35, it says, then God said to Jacob, go up to Bethel and settle there, and build an altar there to God who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau. So Jacob said to his household and all who were with him, get rid of the foreign gods who you have with you, and purify yourselves and change your clothes. So God commands him to return to Bethel, and Jacob just says, okay, time to go. I almost think that that we're missing, like the Bible doesn't tell us what happens between verse 1 and verse 2, but you have to put yourself in his place. God says, okay, it's time to return, and remember that place that I had saved you from, and I provided for you, and you saw this vision and all of that. Those must have been going through his head. He must have been remembering, oh yeah, God has saved me and provided for me and been with me multiple times throughout my life. How am I doing with my promise that I made to walk with him? In fact, it says here in verse 3, then come, let us go up to Bethel, where I will build an altar to God, who answered me in my day of distress, and who has been with me wherever I have gone. So I think he remembered that promise that he made, and how he has failed to keep his part of the bargain, but God has actually kept his part of the bargain. And so I think that God allowed him during that time. He kind of kept quiet, and he allowed Jacob to make mistakes and to suffer the consequences of those mistakes until Jacob was in a place where he was ready to say, you know what, God, I'm just going to obey you. I'm not going to set conditions. I'm not going to do, say, if you do this, I will do that. You say it, I go. And so my question for you is, where are you? Are you in chapters 29 through 34 in your life right now? Are you still leaning on your own understanding and maybe learning some painful lessons? Or are you ready to turn from that and say, I want God's plan for my life. God, I am ready to obey you without setting conditions.